What's good, guys? Fantasy Joe back in our fantasy football video. Today, I am talking about the offense that's currently being underdrafted in 2024. These are the guys you can target that are going to give you the upside while you take those stars early to be able to win your fantasy football championships. If you're interested in bringing home a fantasy football championship, besting all of your friends and family, and bringing that trophy home this year, hit that subscribe button. I have a ton of fantasy football profiles already on the channel. Marvin Harrison, Saquon, Devon A-Chain, bunch of guys like that, bunch of good content. So look out for all that stuff. Hit that subscribe button, league winners, values, bust, everything you need. Also hit the like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always, and it really helps out the algorithm. So I thank you guys for that. All right, let's talk about the offense that is being underdrafted in 2024. Their highest drafted player comes in here at 31, Josh Jacobs, and we're talking about the Green Bay Packers. They were a team last year in 2024. They were 8th in the league in total touchdowns, and that was in Jordan Love's first year as a starting quarterback. You also have to consider the first half of the season, he was dramatically worse than he was the second half of the year. If he's anywhere close to that second half of the year player, this could be an offense that's being criminally underdrafted. And even if they're not, I still think if you average out those two halves, he's being underdrafted. First half of the season, Love had 14 touchdowns, 10 interceptions in 10 games. Last 8 games of the year, 18 passing touchdowns, 1 interception. Really turned it on, was a different type of player. But when we look at this, Josh Jacobs 2 years ago was a rushing champion of the league. Now he's an RB12 in this offense, being drafted. Got paid this offseason. A guy like Achane, who's going to get a lot less volume, being drafted 3 spots ahead of him at the running back position. I even think Josh Jacobs is being drafted pretty appropriately compared to the rest of the offense, but that's just something to consider. And now when we scroll down, let's talk about the next guys. We got to go ways down here, boys. But as you can see, next up on the list, we've got Jayden Reed, at 76, and Jordan Love at 78th overall. These are 7th round picks. Love goes in the 8th round in plenty of drafts, but Jayden Reed last year is being drafted as a wide receiver 35 this year. Last year, Love finishes a quarterback 5 overall, and Jayden Reed was the wide receiver 23 in his rookie season, and now he's going at 35. Like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. 11.6 points per game and half point PPR as well. You compare that to 13.3, was 13th overall at the wide receiver position. He doesn't have to make a crazy big jump to get to that range, and he's being drafted so far late. You could get that stack of him and Jayden Reed and Jordan Love in that 7th, 8th round. I think that is crazy good value. You could stack other players at other skill positions on other offenses. And it's not just those two. Moving down, like I said, Jordan Love in his first year, number 2 in the league, in the entire league in passing touchdowns. That's good for pass catchers. That's good for him. That's good for the offense. Moving down this list, we're going to try to find some more of these Green Bay Packers. We're not going to try to find them. We're going to find them. But it just shows how far down this list they're being drafted right now. You really got to scroll to find them. We passed one guy. We passed Christian Watson, coming in wide receiver 44 right now. It's like I just can't. Okay, Christian Watson, 94th overall. Guy's 6'4", runs a 4.3 40. We've seen him excel whenever he's on the field. Got some testing done this offseason for his hamstring. I think Christian Watson and Jayden Reed are going to be the 1 and the 2. It's just determining who's going to be who. But they're excellent pass catchers. They're young. They're built to succeed in the NFL. Christian Watson's that deep down the field guy, kind of like a mixture of a Mike Wallace and a Mike Evans. But I think he's got a ton of talent. Like I said, had some testing done on that hamstring, try to even out the strength in his legs. I think that could keep him on the field a little bit more. You have to hope, but once you're drafting a wide receiver 44, that value is built in. I'm not worried about the risk of him, missing games or anything like that when you can get that good of a draft day value on him. Moving on to some other players that are values in this offense. Like I said, I just think if you're drafting Packers, you're doing good because they're just about all values of where they're currently going. Marshawn Lloyd, way down here, RB45, averaged over 7 yards a carry last year at USC. Really talented back. Packers have always used 2 backs in their rotation since LaFleur has been there. I expect that trend to continue. I think he's a great value. I just think he's a really talented back. And if anything was to happen to Josh Jacobs, he'd immediately be extremely fantasy relevant. I think he can be a flex in the meantime with the amount of touches he'll likely get being the number 2 back in that system. Then we've got Dontavian Wicks down here, a guy with over 500 yards receiving as a rookie. And now, like I said again, headed into that year 2 where these guys typically make that big jump. Something I want to point out too. So, like I said, Jayden Reed was the wide receiver 23 this last year in points. Zay Flowers was finished worse than he did last year and is being drafted dramatically higher at 51 overall compared to 76. That just points out the hypocrisy to me. And Jayden Reed could be the number 1 wide receiver on this Packers offense. The number 1 pass catcher on the Baltimore Ravens is Mark Andrews. Make no mistakes about it. He's going to be the biggest guy in the red zone, the biggest target. He's going to compete for the overall target lead. But Jayden Reed or Christian Watson is likely going to lead this team in targets if they can stay on the field. And then you can get values on Dontavian Wicks and guys like that later. I just think there's so much value currently going on with these teams. And on the Jordan Love perspective, and Romeo Doubs going here at 33, I believe he had over 8 touchdowns this last season. Just guys that are giving you values where they're currently going. And the offense has that upside of taking that leap in year 2 of the system. Love's been in the system for more than 2 years, but he hasn't been starting for more than 2 years. And we saw him make that market improvement over the second half of the season. I think he's going to be much closer to that player and have a fantastic 2024 season and provide a ton of fantasy appeal for whoever takes the leap and drafts Packers this season. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. If you have any questions or comments, leave them in the comment section down below. I'll respond as always. This has been Fantasy Joe. Thank you guys for watching.